If we combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, a clear intention is a new thought. Yes or no? Yes. An elevated emotion then takes us into the emotions of the future. If we're combining the same intention with the same familiar emotion, then our entire state of being is the same. Yes or no? Yes. So the future is created from a clear intention and elevated emotion from our internal environment. That's how we create a new self. But when we are creating past memories based on knowledge and experience from our external environment, our environment is controlling who we are and we stay the same. So then, what is the highest form of motivation? The highest form of motivation is called purpose motivation, duty motivation, or mission motivation. We teach this in companies all over the world. And people who have a mission or a duty or a purpose that's bigger than them will always be motivated to make a difference. Are you with me still? Now take a look at the next form of motivation. It's called personal conviction motivation. This is the self-starter. This is the entrepreneur. This is the person who says, I'm going to do this because I said I'm going to do it. Still a high form of motivation, but not as high as purpose motivation. And yet we know from our research that people who are purpose motivated, mission motivated, or duty motivated naturally have personal conviction. They have a reason to get up in the morning. Then look at the next form of motivation, ethics motivation, or what I call morality-based motivation. You know, good and bad, right and wrong. Not the highest form of motivation, but people who have purpose motivation naturally have personal conviction, have a great sense of ethics and morality. It all lines up. The next form of motivation, ego-centered motivation. This is for recognition, self-aggrandizement. Not a very high form of motivation, and yet people who have a high purpose, who naturally have personal conviction, have a sense of ethics, always, always, always get the recognition. And now look at the lowest form of motivation. What do you see there? Say it.
Money.
And you know what? A person who's money motivated are the most selfish. Yep. People who have a purpose that are bigger than them are the most selfless. How many people understand? Yes. So then what is purpose? What is mission? What is vision? You can have a purpose to go east. Would you agree then? Purpose is ongoing. There's never an end to going east. You could have a purpose to be healthy. There's never an end to health. It's ongoing. You can have a purpose to be wealthy. There's always more wealth to have. Yes? You could have a purpose to have knowledge, and knowledge is never ending. Purpose defines a direction. Purpose is something that's bigger than us. It doesn't have an end. It's a direction. How many people understand? Yes. So then, our job is to go from the world of possibility and to bring it into the world of reality. To take it from a thought all the way down to what? Matter. From a wave in the quantum physics all the way down to the particle. From the immaterial all the way down to the material. Is this making sense? From a world beyond your senses to a world all of a sudden that connects you to your senses, experiencing it with your senses. That is our job. And of course, our vision, our goals, all of those things exist in the immaterial world of the mind. So, goals are what we do. We set up goals in alignment with our vision and purpose. It means we have to do something in order to get there. So goals are like signposts that keep us on purpose. Are you with me still? Yes. So then think about this. If you have a purpose to go east, and you're starting out in Los Angeles, and your first goal is to make it to Flagstaff, Arizona, and then your second goal is to make it to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And the third goal is to make it to Amarillo, Texas. And if you keep going, would you agree then, as long as your goals are in alignment with your purpose, you're going to arrive at where you need to be? Yes or no? But your goals are going to keep you on purpose. They are signposts to get you there. Are you still with me? You are going to have a purpose to get healthy, right? And if you're getting healthy, of course, then your first goal may be to lower your heart rate. Your second goal may be to lose weight. Your third goal may be to have more energy. Your fourth goal may be to have a new relationship. And all of those goals are motivators to keep you in alignment with your purpose to be healthy. Are you with me still?
Yes.
So then what about becoming abundant? Your first goal may be to start a business the first year. Your second goal may be to hire 2 staff members. Your third goal may be to buy a new vehicle. Your fourth goal may be to make a certain amount of money, buy a house. Are you with me still?
Yes.
All of these goals are in alignment with your purpose. They keep you on purpose. In other words, if you don't have goals, how do you know the direction you're going in? Then, of course, there's knowledge and learning. You could have a goal to get the associate's degree and then get a bachelor's degree. Another goal would be to get a master's and ultimately a PhD or a doctorate degree and then do research. But all of those goals are in alignment with your quest for knowledge. Is this making sense?
Yes.
So what about exploring space? Same thing. We can send the monkey out there, and then we can send the satellite, and then we can go to the moon, and then to Mars. You get the idea, to a distant planet. Anybody see the latest photograph of the Hubble telescope recently? Oh my God. You see it? It's outstanding. I'm not even going to tell you, just look it up. It's too beautiful for me to even talk about it. I was so moved by it today. So here we go. We go to the satellite, we go to the moon, we start going to distant planets, and of course, that's how we follow our vision, by setting up goals. So now, 3 things that keep us together. First thing is the purpose. If you don't have a purpose that you have your mind wrapped around, while you're sitting here in this weekend event, if you're not clear on your purpose, the chances that you will arrive at your goals will be very slim. My purpose is transforming individuals in order to transform a culture, to teach people how common people can do the uncommon. That's my purpose, and I live it, and I have goals in alignment with that purpose. But now, that's only one spoke of this triad. The other thing that it keeps us going is what we call competence. You know what competence is? You're good at what you do. If you combine purpose and competence with accountability, and accountability is if you are asked to do something or you say you're going to do it, you do it. And if you combine purpose, competence, and accountability, you have excellence in an individual. That's it. With my companies, my staff hires them, I walk in and I say, "Hi, how you doing? Let me tell you how I run my company." Nobody is going to be looking over your shoulder. You're going to be trained on how to do certain things. Get clear on your purpose. Tell me what it is. I want to know that you know it. You got to be really good at what you do, and you got to be accountable. If you can't get these 3 things together, you will be outstanding in our culture. You will stand out because everybody else has this going on. And if they start doing your job, then we know that one of these legs have broken down. Nothing personal. It's just this is what it takes. So then if you combine them, purpose, competence, and accountability amongst a team, what you get is trust in the community. Everybody's got each other's back, and everybody's doing a great job, and everybody's covering for one another, and we can trust each other, and we don't have to put our attention on anybody. We can just work on what we're doing. Does this make sense? Yeah. So then the biggest reason then we move off track, the biggest reason we lose our purpose is because of the hormones of stress. So check it out. The moment you perceive a predator in your external environment, your brain recognizes a pattern. Once the pattern is recognized in the neocortex, it sends a signal to the limbic brain. The limbic brain then, all of a sudden, sends a signal down the central nervous system, and when that signal reaches the adrenal glands, all of a sudden your body begins to mobilize enormous amounts of energy. The moment those adrenal glands begin to squirt out adrenaline and cortisol, you get a rush of energy and your physiology changes. Your pupils dilate to let more light in, your salivary juices shut off, not a time to eat a steak. Heart rate increases, respiratory rate increases, and blood is sent to your extremities. And now you're prepared to run, fight, or hide. Are you with me still? Yes. And the body is knocked out of normal balance when that occurs. But what if it's not a lion? What if it's your mother-in-law? and you react as if she's a predator, then what was once adaptive is now very maladaptive. Yes or no? Because when you turn on the stress response and you can't turn it off, your body's going to be in trouble because there's no resources to heal. There's no resources to create a new future. You've tapped all your resources. Are you with me still? So you see then that the same mechanism that happens when you're being chased by a predator could happen when you're sitting in traffic, sitting next to an in-law, sitting next to a coworker, watching the news. You're doing the exact same thing, and your body doesn't know the difference. Are you with me still? But what if you're sitting there and you're just having thoughts in your own mind? And as you begin to focus all of your attention on those thoughts, you can turn on the same stress response just by thought alone. Is this making sense? You get the idea, yes? So then, when you react to something or someone in your life, I want you to know that after that reaction, after that experience, if you don't know how to control your emotional reaction, and you allow those chemicals to run for hours or days, that's called a mood. Someone says to you, what's wrong? I'm in a mood. Really? Why are you in a mood? Well, this thing happened to me 5 days ago. I'm just having one long emotional reaction. You keep that same emotional reaction going on for weeks or months, that's called a temperament. Why is he so bitter? Why is he so angry? Let's ask him. Why are you so bitter? Well, this thing happened to me 7 months ago. I'm having one long emotional reaction. I'm memorizing my emotions. You keep that same emotion reaction going on for years on end, that becomes your personality or your personality traits. How many people understand? Shortening your reaction to the conditions in your life is called emotional intelligence. That's the greatest thing we can teach our children. So now, check this out. This is the animal aspect of us. When we're living in stress, we're living in survival. When we're in survival, energy contracts into the body. All of a sudden, tissues contract. There's what we call catabolism or tissue breakdown. The body goes into dis-ease. There's imbalance. There's degeneration. The emotions of fear, anger, and sadness, primary emotions. When we're living in survival, we get selfish. We've got to take care of ourselves. The environment, the body, and time is where our attention is. Energy is always lost in the system. We're living in emergency mode. We narrow our focus on objects. We feel separate from everyone and everything, even our future and our dreams. We're determining reality by our senses. We're living by cause and effect. We are living by limited possibilities. The brain and heart are in a state of incoherence. And of course, when we're in survival, we're focusing on knowns, not unknowns. In survival, unknowns are scary things. Are you with me still? Our divine aspect of us, our creative aspect of ourselves, is when we're in a state of creation. The body's in balance. Energy is expanding. Systems, blood flow is opening up. The body's in anabolism, repair. There's health, there's order, there's regeneration. Love, joy, trust, knowing, gratitude, elevated emotions cause us to feel more selfless. We become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time. Energy is regenerated in the body. There's growth and repair. We go from a narrow focus and we open our focus. We see new possibilities, a new landscape. We feel connected to something greater. We're creating from a reality beyond our senses. We're causing an effect. We see possibilities we never saw before. The brain and heart go into coherence. And of course, the unknown becomes an adventure. Are you with me still? So then, if you're heading east and all of a sudden you decide to go to Phoenix or Missoula, you wind up in Miami, you go to Boston, you had a thought that led to a certain choice, that led to a certain behavior, that led to a certain experience that produced a certain emotion. You did that, yes or no? And you changed your thought patterns, and that's what led you off that. You have a purpose to get healthy, and all of a sudden you start eating 3 pieces of birthday cake. You made a choice, yes or no? You missed 1 week of exercise, you stayed up late watching TV, you just stopped getting treated. Some thought that leads to some choice, that leads to some behavior, that leads to some experience, that produces some feeling. You went back to a familiar feeling and you feel pretty bad about yourself, yes or no? People rather feel bad about themselves than good about themselves. So check this out. You have 3 brains that allow you to go from thinking to doing the being. This yellow brain right here is called your neocortex. It's the largest in human beings and dolphins. This is the seat of your conscious awareness. You're listening to me right now with your neocortex. That's your thinking brain. Right underneath your thinking brain is called your chemical brain, your emotional brain, your limbic brain, midbrain, and then this is called your cerebellum. So your brain is made up of 100 billion neurons. If you took 100 billion sheets of paper and stacked them on top of each other, it would be 5,000 miles high. That's the distance from Los Angeles to London. You have about 10,000 to 40,000 connections per neuron in your brain, in your thinking brain. Those neurons aren't two-dimensional. They're actually three-dimensional like this. They communicate in the XYZ axis. If you took a scoop of gray matter the size of a grain of sand, you would have 100,000 neurons in it with over 1 billion connections. So learning is making new synaptic connections. Every time you learn something new, this is what happens in your brain. Well, he's kind of talking fast. I wonder if he's from New York. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to try it out again. Oh, I understand. You did that if you learned something. Are you with me still? This is learning in the brain. This is happening to you this weekend. You're rewiring your brain every time you learn something or every time you understand something. Check this out. One whole cluster of neurological networks connecting to a whole nother cluster. The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. Aha, I understand. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, every time you learn something and you repeat it, you fire and wire, nerve cells that fire together, wire together. If learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. Now they're in a long-term relationship. They're hardwired together. Does that make sense? And just like any relationship, the more we hang out, the more we communicate, the more we're bonded. Yes or no? Now, if you keep firing and wiring, all of a sudden, those neurons begin to assemble into a neurological network. And a neural network, or a neurological network, are just gangs of neurons that have fired and wired together to form a community of neurosynaptic connections. It can be related to a thought, a memory, skill, a behavior, habit. But now they're a cluster working as a community, a network. How many people understand? But those neurological networks don't only have a chemical component, they have an electrical component. Check it out. Your brain is very electrical. You want to see a thought? Boom, there it goes. Watch again. Boom. You generate more electrical impulses in your brain in one day than all the cell phones on the planet put together. It's not coming from the candy bar you ate at the break either. Connected to the field. Neurological networks, the average speed of neurological activity is probably about 120 miles per hour. That's how fast nerve conductivity happens. Now, neurological networks, you have a neurological network to brush your teeth, to tie your shoes, to type on the computer, to drive your car, to complain. You've just done it enough times you no longer have to think about it. So, you learn all this information, you come to the Live the Dream seminar, get all this information. Now you're walking around your office going, you know what? You need to forgive. That's your problem. you need to open your heart. And you over there, you need to get some emotional intelligence going on. You're walking around espousing all this philosophy, right? But knowledge is the precursor to experience. The end product of an experience is called an emotion. When you understand how you created the experience, that's called wisdom. And of course, that's how we evolve in life. If you keep re-experiencing the same emotion over and over again, you've done nothing wrong. You're just taking too long. So then once you apply that information, you personalize it, you demonstrate it, you modify your behaviors, and you do something different, you're going to have a new experience. When you have a new experience, clusters of neurons, gangs of neurons, organize themselves into networks and patterns. The moment those neurons string into place, the brain makes a chemical, and that chemical is called a feeling or an emotion. And when you start to feel, you activate the second brain. Are you with me still? Yes. And now you are teaching your body chemically to understand what success, empowerment, abundance feels like. Are you with me still? Yes. Now your body's getting the chemical message. So then, here we go. You're walking around your office, you're walking around work, you're walking around people, and you're telling them, you know, this is what you need to do to get your life in order. I know because I know a lot of things. But all of a sudden, you know, you get invited to the Christmas party, you know. You know, the Christmas party, and then your friend calls you up while you're getting ready, and they say, that person that betrayed you, that threw you under the bus, they're at the party. Oh my God. I think I'm going to murder her in the women's room when no one's looking. I'm going to poison her wine. You know why? Because this is the moment of truth, you know, because you had some stressful experiences with that person, but she wasn't a lion, it was just your coworker. And then, of course, after the experience, you started thinking about, you know, I hate my coworker. And as you begin to turn on these different circuits in your brain, you're conditioning your body emotionally more into the past. And every time you think about her, every time you review the experience, you're conditioning your body into the past, because the body doesn't know the difference between the experience you're creating or the thought you're creating from the emotion. It literally is in the past. So now, the moment you say, okay, she's at the Christmas party, I can't murder her, I can't flush her down the toilet, I can't embarrass her in front of everybody because I went to the seminar. Now I gotta do something with all of this knowledge. So then you start thinking, okay, what did I learn? Let me think about what I can do here. Okay, you turn on the frontal lobe. That's the seat of your free will. That's where you have learning. That's where you have intention. That's where you have invention. It's where you speculate new ideas and you pay attention. It's where you decide and make new decisions and control your behavior and focus your concentration, and you restrain your emotional reactions. That's the boss. That's the CEO. That's the symphony leader. When that center turns on, it quiets down the rest of the brain. So you sit down on the couch, and all of a sudden you say, okay, I got to go to this Christmas party. And you think, okay, let me just settle down here, and let me just observe what I'm doing. So as you sit there on the couch, and you're settling yourself down, you're going to start observing those thoughts that you're thinking. And if you're observing the thoughts without putting your attention behind them and believing in them, the act of observing them in neuroscience is called metacognition. The fact that you can think about what you're thinking about means you can modify your behaviors and do a better job in life. So you listen to those thoughts, you watch them. And as you begin to observe them without participating in them, the act of observing them no longer fires them. And if nerve cells no longer fire together and no longer wire together, you're settling down the circuits that are connected to the old self. Are you with me still? Yes. And so that silences the circuits connected to the old self. So you're sitting on the couch and you say, okay, what did I learn from finale anyway? Let me think about this. I was there the whole weekend. Okay, I got to get connected to my future. Let's see. I read the book. I read both books. I read all 3 books. I listened to the CDs. I listened to the MP3 player. I got enough knowledge in my brain. Okay, let me see if I can show some compassion at the Christmas party here. Okay, what did I learn about compassion? Oh my God, I got to see myself in her. Yeah, all right, I'll give it a try. I got to let go of the past. I got to remember that. I got to stay in the present moment. You're turning on these circuits, yes or no? Yeah. Focus on the nice qualities she has. Okay, no longer judge. You get enough networks of neurons firing, you produce a new level of mind. And all of a sudden, you get a very clear picture in your mind, and that's called intention. Are you with me still? So then here you go. You're driving to the Christmas party, reminding yourself of who you no longer want to be, reminding yourself of who you do want to be. And the more you think about that knowledge, the more you begin to prepare yourself for the experience. There comes a moment where all of a sudden you're in the scene. You're imagining yourself at the Christmas party and what you're going to do. And the moment you move into the scene, that's called mental rehearsal. It's called internal mental imaging. The moment you do that, your brain begins to install the circuits to look like the experience has already happened. You are priming your brain for the event. Are you with me still? So, this is what happens because nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together. It's the universal law. You don't use it, you lose it. I call this throwing out the mental trash. Here you go. Here's a new thought called compassion. I'm going to hold this thought, okay? I'm going to be compassionate. Problem is, while you're sitting there and trying to focus on being compassionate, you got all these other voices in your head saying, murder her, start tomorrow, she's no good, she hurt you, I'm going to show her. So you're trying to fire this new thought called compassion, and all these other voices, which you've been firing and wiring all this time, are more powerful than this new thought. But if you keep focusing your attention with intention, with your energy over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, sooner or later this becomes the loudest voice in your head. The moment this becomes the loudest voice in your head, watch what happens. All of a sudden, this gives it the strongest signal now. Now the moment this is the strongest signal, and now this becomes the loudest voice in your head, the thought is traveling down this direction. It's called an action potential. But now there's glue that holds all these circuits together. So now that this is the strongest signal, we've got to glue the circuit. But there's only a certain amount of glue to go around. So the nerve cells begin to steal the glue from the neighboring circuits. So now as it seals this new circuit called compassion, and it steals the glue from the other circuits, those circuits are pruned apart. And there goes the memory of her betrayal. There goes the thought of murder. There goes the thought of poisoning her. And the only thought now that's traveling in your brain is compassion. Now think about that. They call that in neuroscience pruning. And if every place where one neuron is connected with another neuron is called a memory, and you've pruned away those circuits, then the memory of the old self is literally changed. And now where is that memory stored? In the soulless wisdom. And that's the name of the game here. Are you with me still? Yeah. Now check this out. This is what it looks like in real time. Unhooking from the old self, reconnecting to the new self. So then now, you forgive your coworker. You all of a sudden sit there, you open your heart, and you see yourself, and you do exactly what you learned. And in the experience, all of a sudden, as you're in the experience, you start feeling compassion and joy and freedom and love. And the moment you feel that emotion, you are teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. And your body's getting the signal. And your mind and body are now one. And if you've done it once, it means you can do it again. And if you keep repeating it over and over again, you will neurochemically condition your mind and body to work as one. And that's when the third brain kicks in, called the cerebellum, the seat of what we call implicit memories, skills and habits. And all of a sudden, compassion becomes a habit. Are you with me still? So Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an action, but a habit. So we start out unconsciously unskilled. You know what that means? You don't even know that you don't even know. And then all of a sudden you learn a little bit of knowledge and you become consciously unskilled. Now you know that you don't know. I always tell my kids you need at least one of these a day. Then you start practicing, you start doing the work, you start changing yourself, and you become consciously skilled. Now check it out. 95% of the people stop right here. People who are possessed by a vision, they keep going until they become unconsciously skilled. And now it's just who they are. And you say to them, how do you do that? And they say, I don't know. I just practiced it so many times, it's just who I am. And of course, people who do things really well, anybody who's doing anything really great, just put the time in, listen closely, to supersede their boredom and continue right past their boredom, and that's when it became an unconscious skill. Are you with me still? So, the process of change goes from familiar past to a new future. You got to unlearn and relearn. You got to break the habit of your old self and reinvent a new self. You got to prune synaptic connections and sprout new connections. You got to unfire and unwire and refire and rewire. Unmemorize emotions that are stored in the body, recondition the body to a new mind and to a new emotion. All of a sudden means you got to lose your mind and create a new one. You got to become so familiar with your old self that you won't go unconscious again, and become so familiar with the new self that you go unconscious being the new self. You have to deprogram and reprogram, go from living in the past to creating a new future, going from an old energy to a new energy. How many people understand? So great people in history knew this. Can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, that you've thought about enough times in your mind that it's now wired in your brain? And can you emotionally embrace a future potential before the actual experience so many times that you emotionally condition your body to believe it's in that future reality, in the present moment, signaling new genes and new ways to change your body to look like the experience has already happened? Because if you can, your brain and body are physically changed ahead of the actual experience. You just move from living in your past to living in your future. In fact, you are ahead of your time. And when you successfully apply this new paradigm, your brain and body are no longer a record of the past, but now a map to the future. And to live by this law is to live by the quantum law. And the quantum law says your environment is an extension of your mind. And when you truly change your mind, your life changes. How many people understand? Now, take out a piece of paper because we're going to finish this day with a mini meditation. Now, intention is getting clear on what you want. Now, I want you to think about something that you want in your life. Be very specific. Like some people may want a new job. And if it's a new job, write down the letter J. And after you write down the letter J, I want you to draw 2 circly, squiggly lines around it. I'll explain it in a minute. If you want a new opportunity to appear in your life, write the letter O down to represent a new opportunity. If you want a new relationship, write the letter R down and draw 2 squiggly lines around it. If you want a mystical experience that's going to rock your world, write down the letter M and draw 2 squiggly lines around it. If you want, what else do people want? Prosperity. If a new vacation, you want a vacation. You want wealth. You want to, oh my goodness, someone just coached me the other day. They were going bankrupt and now they're retiring. Letter R, 2 squiggly lines around it for retirement. You want your serotonin levels to go up in your brain. Draw the letter S. Pick something that you want. Let's just experiment, okay? Don't be too serious. Just pick a letter for the fun of it. You want to have a mystical experience. You want to have a new relationship, a new job. You want a synchronicity in your life. You want an opportunity. You want a problem to be resolved. Put a P down. Just write something down and draw 2 squiggly lines around it. That's your intention. It's a possibility that exists in the quantum field. You got it? Now, I want you to get clear on what that letter means. Like my son, Jace. He's an engineer. He's got a master's in engineering. He wanted to work from anywhere in the world. He wanted to be his own boss. He wanted to have a contract for 6 months or 12 months at a time. He wanted to make more money than he was making in his previous job, which he did very well with. And this was his most important thing. He wanted to love what he did. So now, every time he thinks of this letter J, that J is a symbol that represents these conditions of his job. So whatever this letter is, whether it's wealth or new opportunity or a new relationship or whatever it is, write down the conditions to help you get clear on what that letter means. The only thing you can put down on it is a time frame. Some people say, I want to make $40,000 a year more or $100,000 a year more. I want to have benefits, health insurance, a month's vacation. What else have I heard? Wow. I can tell you wealthy stories all day, all night long. All I want you to do is pick a letter, draw those 2 squiggly lines around it, and then I want you to list at least 4 sub-intentions to help you get clear on what that letter means. These are the conditions that you assign meaning to that symbol for. got it? Come on, this isn't a crucifixion.
Yes.
You with me? Now, in order for you to create a new future, you have to combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion. So now, here's my question. What are the emotions you're going to feel when it occurs? Would it be gratitude? Or grateful? Would it be inspired? Would it be a love for life? Would it be worthy? Would it be joy? Pick some emotions that you'll feel. Freedom. People who want wealth don't really want wealth, they want freedom. And list at least 4 emotions. Don't make me fun of my handwriting. So now you have your intention, yes? Hello? Yes. And now you have the emotions that you are going to experience before it occurs. Did you hear me? Yes. So think about this. If you get up from your meditation and you feel the emotion of the experience, then you feel like you already have it, yes or no? And if you feel like you already have it, you're less likely to feel separate from it. Because if you feel separate from it, it means it's going to take some time for you to get it. But if you get up feeling like you already got it because you already created the feeling, then you won't feel lack or separation or duality or polarity. You'll feel like you have it, and you won't force or control outcomes in your life. You'll just relax into it. How many people understand?
Yeah.
So you have your 4 sub-intentions. Hello?
Yes.
And you have at least 4 elevated emotions written down.
Yes.
Now, research shows that they took a group of people and they held these vials of DNA out in front of them. And they said to these people that were expert healers and prayers, we want you to focus in your mind on the DNA winding or unwinding. Now remember, the DNA is at a remote location. And just over and over again, just see it winding or unwinding. And so people did all this focused intention on getting the DNA to wind and unwind. And at the end of the experiment, they checked the DNA, and the DNA never changed. That intention did nothing to change the DNA. So then they said, okay, well, what we want you to do is open your heart and feel an elevated emotion like joy or gratitude or freedom, loving kindness, compassion. And we just want you to radiate it out from your heart over and over again to see if it affects the DNA. So these people opened their hearts and they were measuring heart coherence and brain coherence. At the end of the experiment, even with open hearts and state of coherence, when they measured the DNA, an elevated emotion, elevated energy did nothing to change their DNA. But when they said to them, okay, we want you to see the DNA unwinding in your mind, and then we want you to get in touch with how it would feel if it actually unwound. Just the act of combining the intention with the elevated emotion, 23% of the DNA unwound. See, the thoughts that you think are the electrical charge in the quantum field, and the feelings that you emote are the magnetic charge. And how you think and how you feel broadcasts an electromagnetic signature that influences every single atom in your life. The thought sends the signal out, and the feeling draws the event back to you. So then, we are going to go into a mini meditation here. And can you see that symbol in your mind? That letter, the squiggly lines? Those squiggly lines represent the electromagnetic signature. Now, I am going to help you get into a state that we now know creates brain coherence and heart coherence because we've measured it thousands of times. And if you can just stay present with me and follow the instructions, I'm going to take you on a little journey. If I ask you to rest your attention in the space behind your breastbone space, could you put your attention in there? And if I ask you to call up an emotion of your future, could you start feeling that emotion without having the experience? And if you do that properly, that emotion is going to start producing a measurable magnetic field. That frequency, that energy carries intent, carries a message, and you're going to lay that symbol while you tune into the energy of your future. You don't have to do anything. All I'm going to say is, the longer you're conscious of this energy within you and around you, sense it around you, the more you're calling your future to you. And all you're going to do is hold that symbol and feel that energy. How does that sound? You want to try it out? Yeah. All right, so do I have your word that if you're in this meditation, you'll be in it the entire time?
Yeah.
It's not going to be a long one, but we'll take you through it.